Yeah, good afternoon, good evening, good morning, everyone, depending on where you are watching me from. This is Matter Arising with Humanist Steven. Like I told you guys, I will be coming up tonight again to discuss issues based on what is happening around in uh, in our state. And I just decided to come outside again and start the show. I wanted all to just, as a matter of fact, press your share button, uh, press your likes, uh, subscribe if you're watching me from Niger YouTube. Uh, if you are on my private page, please kindly walk over to Matter Arising with Humanist Steven and just follow me up there because very soon I will be doing most of my videos on Facebook through the page. And if you are just a newcomer into Niger World, please press the subscription button and press the notification button so that you'll be notified anytime I am out on the show. Okay, guys. It's going to be a very, very intriguing and interesting day today, that I can assure you guys. And I want you all to just get ready, share and share and share and share and share. Let us go ahead with what we have on ground. So coming on, press the share button, give us some likes and some thumbs up. And if you're new subscriber to Niger Watch YouTube, please just press the notification button as you subscribe so you can get notifications on all important news that will be emanating from my table. Yeah, this afternoon, this evening, when I came up, good evening, my brother Osas. When I came up, I said I was going to come out again, and yeah, thank you very much, Richard Omosefi. Please just share the video. Share the video. Osas, give us some likes and share the video on your wall if you're watching from Niger Watch. So we need to get as much as 40 viewers in all before I start. Now we just have 17 on Niger Watch, 1 on Matter Arising, and 7 on my private page. So we can just do more job by sharing so we can be able to get more people coming in. Then we'll start the day. Yeah, here we go. Good evening, sir. I agree to you, sir. Please just give me, as you are coming in, just give me some likes. Give me some likes as you are coming in. If you're on Niger Watch YouTube, give me some likes, okay? Because this year you have a very, very intriguing, very educative, what's it called? Information and news, okay? And you see, I'm so very happy tonight because people love me smiling. Somebody said, Steve, on Saturday you were not smiling. So today I decided to put up my smiley face and continue smiling all through the program today. Yes. Today I'm going to talk about our state, Edo State. I'm going to talk about our state, Edo State. In 2016, I love history very well, and people say I should go and read, but I try to read as much as I can. In 2016, when Governor Obaseki came in after his inauguration, he actually disbanded. He actually disbanded the 1 minute, guys. So he actually disbanded the CDAs, known as the Community Development Associations, which comprised of our youth who were kind of jobless, resulted in selling community lands, and by so doing, creating menace in the state, particularly in Edo South. And when Governor Obaseki came in, he felt that was not working well. He disbanded them with the help of the Oba of Benin, Obayewari Ogonigan II. That very particular practice was abolished, and powers were not given to the Eniges. The Eniges are the dukes. Please, as you are coming, just press the share button and give us some like. The Eniges are the dukes. Powers were not given to the Eniges, and where there is no Enige, powers were not given to the Odionweres, who are the custodian of the culture and tradition of the kingdom. Some power were not vested in them by the Omonobane Doku Akpolokpolo or Bayewari Ogonigan II. To not be responsible in the sales of lands. And as we all know also, they also abolished what they called the city developmental fees, which was what these guys were using, to defraud developers in each of the communities. They now decided to have what we call the Emolu. Emolu is the traditional way where the developers are now asked to cook for the community while it's going to lay the foundation of his building. When the governor did this, he now set up the PPP headed by the ex-Inspector Police, Ariase, and other able bodies who were now part and parcel of that very particular committee. I think in the first 2 or 3 years of that very particular committee, it worked effectively well. There was a reduction in the menace being created by these youths in each of these communities. It drastically reduced to the barest minimum, not completely eradicated anyways, because some of the youth now decided to owe some of them ransoms, some Enige ransoms, where they now created what we call Okagele, which is the head of the youth, and most of the chairmen of the deformed CDAs were now appointed by the Odionweres and the Eniges of most of the communities to become the Okagele. But during this period where the PPP was actually functioning very well, there was a drastic reduction in extortion, molestation, double sales of one land to different individuals. But of late, I have received a series of, telephone calls. I've received series of, informations from people within and outside the state complaining how they are being molested, or how their lands are being sold and being resold again to 2 or 3 or even 4 persons in their community. As the voice of the voiceless and the mouthpiece of the Edos in diaspora, and I decided to bring this to my platform to inform the government of Obaseki, to inform the Royal Palace, to inform the PPP, to also inform the Eniges and the Odion. So as a matter of fact, they should tighten their belts to stop the uprising of these hoodlums that want to set Edo State backward. I'm therefore appealing to His Excellency, Governor Godwin Norerase Obaseki, the Executive Governor of Edo State, to the Oba of Benin, Omonoba Nedo Kwakpolo, Oba Iware, the Ogenigan II, the chairman and members of the PPP committee, the Enigies of all the communities, if there are, the Odion race, when there is no Enige, to preside over the affair of the communities. I'm calling on you guys to say, please, there is a rapid uprising of this youth again in our community, creating havoc, destroying properties, and also making developers not to be able to develop their properties. Some of the properties are also being sold over and over and over again by some of the youth in these communities. So we must act very fast so that we can be able to stop this very, very trending problem that can plug the state again into another state of anarchy. We just passed through one now that was created by the court groups. We're able to escape the prison break that over 2,000 prisoners were released during the NSAS, the aftermath of the NSAS protest. Some of them are still being looked for today by the police, and they are all, in our society, and we don't want to see another breakdown of law and order as a result of land issues, which might not be too good for the economic hub or economic development that the Obaseki administration that is planning to do. Because when these CDAs are still operating freely, creating havoc, creating tension in our communities, then it's going to create fear in the mind of developers, particularly those of us in diasporas, that the rate at which the Edo have been developing since 2016 will be sent back again. And that is what some of us would not want to happen. That's why we are clamoring, calling on relevant authority to please take note and take decisive actions in order to reduce this menace that is about to unfold in our dear state, Edo State. Like I said, I'm getting a series of information that land are not be sold twice and 3 times, as it was before the disbursement of the CDs by the community youth. This is not acceptable because the palace and the government have put a ban on these atrocities, and I'm calling on any developer that their land have been sold to another person, if they can be able to prove the authentic documents that is used in buying the land, either from the community or from the private individuals, they should report such to the PPP and also relay their problem to the palace of the Oba of Benin for quick action, so that such, a devilish act will not be allowed to gather momentum, so it will not create or put the state into the anarchy that we have escaped right since 2016. Some Iniges, I was also informed that some Iniges and Ojonways of some communities, not all, are either killed or threatened by this youth who are operating illegally now because the law has prohibited the sales of land by youth of the community. The law has prohibited developmental fees to be paid to any youth except the Emolu, which is the traditional way when someone is trying to do foundation. They are being threatened or killed not to say a word by this youth who sells community land. Lands the authority to sell land is no more in the hands of the youth. It is now in the hands of the Ojonways and the Iniges. So the Ojonways of this community should, as a matter of fact, stand to their responsibility, report any actions that is against the developmental strive of the state to the Oba Palace, to the PPP, and also petition the Edo State government so that they can be able, they should be aware of the menace and atrocity that is being committed by some youth in their community. Please like this show, share as you can. Please, as you are coming in, give me a thumbs up and share. I was also reliably informed that developmental levies, which has also been abolished by the state government and the palace, are still being collected by the youth from the developers, which is against what the law of the disbursement of the CDA says. People are being forced to pay money, huge amount of money, instead of the cooking that was traditionally approved by the palace of the Oba of Benin. You see, one thing is this: the developers cannot do much because they are scared of their lives. They are scared of what these hoodlums will do to them and their properties. You all know there's a lady who called me one time and said she built a house to a neater level in Benin this year. And one of the youth sold the land to someone else. And the man that the land was sold to has so much money. The man took a bulldozer to her house and leveled down the entire property. The man took a bulldozer to her house, the completed building that's already at a neater level, and leveled down the entire property. So many people today, their properties, their lands are still being taken from them. People are still being beaten up in their sites if they refuse to pay the developmental fees by this youth. This is illegal, and the Edo State government must, as a matter of fact, curb this menace that is about to rise again in Edo State. This is going to create more tension because these youths, they will go further in creating more problem if they are not dealt with right from now. They still collect development fee from people as high as 150,000 to 300,000, depending on the kind of house you are building on your land. They still do that. Land grabbers. Land grabbers is on the high. Land grabbers is on the high in most communities, as youth of different communities are fighting over ownership of land to sell. And many people are being killed in the process, which has also resulted in creating tension in the state. Do you know when anytime they have this problem of land grabbing, these youth have guns. They have AK-47. They have pump action. They have English revolver. They have all manner of guns. They take to each communities. And people are being wasted. All for the sake of land. So that's why we are calling on the government today. It's happening around all the communities that are developing in Edo State today, particularly in Edo South. Please share this video, guys. So we are begging the governor and the Oba of Benin to come to the aid of these communities. Because most of the time, the innocent ones actually suffers when these guys start their killings. The innocent ones are the ones that actually bear the pain, the burden of the destruction that will be created on the community by the other community, as the case may be. There should be rules, statutory rules being put in place by the palace, which the government should put into law, where boundaries are. But the problem today is, in those that remember my grandfather, of blessed memory, said something. Said in those days, even when you buy land, when they buy land, they put what we call ikimi. It's an old traditional wood way of knowing the boundary between one land and another. The same is also being used to differentiate between one community or another. Another way in which communities were being separated in those days was the moat. So another way also they were also used was the river, the natural boundary called the river. Were also used as a demarcation or as a boundary between one community or the other. But many of these natural devices are being ignored because youth are now engaged in land grabbing and land selling. In order for them to be able to get much land, as much as they wanted, they are ready to go as far as killing anyone, destroying lives, destroying properties, raising down an entire community in order for them to be able to subdue the other communities and take over the ownership of their lands. This, I think, we should not allow to continue. Right now, as we speak, this should not continue anymore. The government should, as a matter of fact, let each community leadership be responsible for any atrocity that will be created or committed by anyone within the community. I'm going to give some solutions based on my experience, and I hope it will be workable to everyone who is watching me today. Please share this video, guys. Because the truth of the matter is, guys, the youth had no reason to sell land. If it is not because of the phase system in Nigeria, lands are actually the property of the state government and the traditional ruler, not that of the youth. Time immemorial before now, when development have not actually expanded to how it is today. If I remember in the 14th, 15th, 16th centuries in Benin Kingdom, even up to the 18th centuries or the early 19th centuries, the Oba of Benin, then the power was under the Oba of Benin. If you come in as a stranger to Benin Kingdom and you want to dwell in Benin, the Oba of Benin will ask the Enige or Enogie of that community to give you a parcel of land. In Benin, we call it Ofia Kono Ako, where you can live as a settlement and do your business. Either you are a farmer or you are a fisherman, whatever it is. That is how it was in the olden days. Before 1979, when Obasanjo created the Land Use Decree Act, 1976, sorry, whereby it took the land away from the local government and the traditional rulers and vested the land on the state government. Now, having known that the state government are now the custodian of the lands in each of their states, in collaboration with the local government, they should, as a matter of fact, swing into action and follow these recommendations, which I'm going to lay out today, that will help in reducing the havoc that this menace that is being created by land grabbers, by community CDAs in our state. I love my state. There's no other state in the world that is better than Edo State. There's nowhere in the world whereby I will be more comfortable than being in my home state. That's why I am always clamoring for the betterment of my state. Edo where Ewoma Ao na Meroji. My prayers, my hope and aspiration is to see an Edo that will be Vegas-like, an Edo that will be California-like, or an Edo that will look like Dubai, where everything is possible. So, guys, below are my suggestions, not binding. They are my recommendations. Not binding on anyone, not binding on the government, but if the government can work on these recommendations, maybe we might have a better, a more robust economical development in Edo State. I remember I spoke to a woman, let me tell you, I spoke to a very wealthy Benin woman. She's a multi-millionaire. She's a lady, she lives in Abuja. I spoke with her during the election, and she said, my son, I said, ma, I said, do you know what? She said, I have a very big land along Supply Road that's supposed to use in building a company. But during that time, these youth were on rampage in Edo State. They were on rampage. And when she came down, the money they demanded for her to pay for the development fee was so huge that she felt, I'm only doing them a favor by bringing some of my companies from Abuja and Lagos to Edo. So if they want me to pay such an amount for them before I cannot put the company there, they can as well leave the land, and the land has been remained fallow all these years. As a result of the activities of the youth in these communities, many people have abandoned their houses, which was supposed to have been a town by now, because of the activities of some of these youth in their various communities. So I am recommending to the government of Obaseki, I am recommending to the Palace of Oba Benin, that some of these recommendations can make things more easier and more workable if we decide to follow. Please share this broadcast. During the disband of CDAs, it was only the palace that said the Enogies, the Enigies, and the Ojonweris should be the one that will be selling land alone. It was not enacted into the law. So I am now suggesting to Obaseki government to please put this as a law. Number one, laws should be made that lands can only be sold by the Nige and the Ojonweris in collaboration with the Ministry of Land and Survey. Land should be sold by the Enigies and the Ojonweris in collaboration with the Ministry of Land and Survey. Guys, the reason is this: that will reduce the double selling of lands. It will reduce it drastically. Because if the Ministry of Land and Survey is now aware of the sales of a land, then there will be a reduction in the community selling the same land over again. Because when they go to the Ministry of Land and Survey, it will be reflected that the land has been sold. And the only person that can sell that land must be the man that his name is now on that parcel of land in the community. Okay, guys, just watch what I'm going to say now. You know, I know there are some communities whereby they've already portioned out the entire community, and they already know the number of lands that is in that community. Okay. The state government, in collaboration with the Nogis and the Ojonweris, as the case may be, should, as a matter of fact, ask every Ojonwe and the Nigis with the pattern of development created by the government of the state to make a survey of the entire lands in these communities. Now they can map out these lands in 100 by 100s, which is the actual selling mechanism in Edo State today. Or they can make it 50 by 100, which is the lowest you can sell. 50 by 100 plots. If you want to buy 4, will be, if you want to buy 3 is 100 by 100. If you are buying 3, it's 50 by 150. If you are buying 4, it is 100 by 200. Yeah, right? 4 is 100 by 200 or whatever. I don't know how it is. But you guys understand what I'm talking about. Then each of these plots should be numbered. It's easy. With the bricks. Should be numbered with the bricks. And these bricks will not help in reducing the sales of land the sales of one land 2 times. Number 2, having done this survey on each communities, the community should be asked to actually pay for it, because they're going to be the one that will be selling the lands. They should actually pay for the survey of these lands. We pay for survey when we buy land. Okay? It will be easier if the communities are not being surveyed by the government. The bill will be on the communities. Before any community can begin the sales of land, that land will have been surveyed by the surveyors. Would have been mapped out and being gadgeted into the plan and pattern of the Edo State Ministry of Land and Survey and Geographical pattern. This, all lands should be gazetted under a committee, and whosoever that is the Ojonwere or the Enige should be given the title of deed. A title of deed, something like a C of O, should be given to the Ojonwere or to the Enige, as the case may be. And this will not help them to sell land according to the pattern designed by the state government. Because with the way and manner the Benin boys and Nigerians in particular love land grabbing, land selling. Speaking to them by mouth will not solve the problem until some drastic measures are being put in place. Because there are many people today who are buying lands from people. I remember a friend of mine bought a land from a youth during the time when the CDA was raining. And the land he bought actually belonged to the Ojionwe of the community. Because the land was very close, was along the road. He paid the money. The day he was coming to start development, the people came and said, no, this land does not belong to you. I bought it. He brought us some papers that were actually forged by the youth. They were actually forced by the youth. So if there is a deed, a title of deed being handed over to the community X, then loan land can be sold without the permission of the Ojionwe or the Enige. And if you, as a developer, decided to go and buy land without the consent or the knowledge of these people, without you getting a deed to be sure that that land had been sold or not, then you are just like a mugu who the 419 lay prey on because of their greed. Okay? I want the government to take note of that. This is very important. Number 3, every land buyer should seek approval. The government should make it mandatory. Having gazetted, having done survey on each of these communities, every land buyer should seek approval from the Ministry of Land and Survey before they can pay for any land. Every land buyer should take approval from the Ministry of Land and Survey before they can pay for any land. I think this will reduce drastically the rate of land grabbing by communities, and it will put an end to unnecessary killings. If, for example, Community A had an issue with Community B over land dispute, and based on the Ministry of Land and Survey, and based on the natural phenomenon that actually divided these different states or communities, this will now make it more easier that they will be able to know which community this very particular number, the identity number of the land belongs to. This is possible if only the government should be ready to reduce the rate of killings, because this will end a lot of problem in Edo State. If every land buyer should get an approval from the Ministry of Land and Survey before they pay for the said land. If it becomes a uniform thing that will be done in the entire Edo State, it will reduce double sales, to reduce land grabbing, and many of these unnecessary, unwarranted destructions of livestock property will be reduced to the barest minimum. Number 4, one of the problems that I've seen today is the issue of boundary dispute. Boundary dispute. many communities in Edo State, particularly Edo South, are fighting tirelessly over boundary disputes. I want to also encourage you all to tell the government to please. The government should create a boundary dispute committee before the surveying of these lands. The dispute committee would have sat down, listened to every problem from the two communities, consult the palace of the Oba to ask for the natural division or natural boundary that was created according to what I said in the beginning of this broadcast, that you have the Ikimi, you have the river, you have the moat. Sometimes you have the Ogwedion as a show that that community has been independent, or this is where the boundary actually passes. So with such information from the palace on how the Benin tradition have been before now, that can also reduce the rate at which problem can emanate between communities. So the government should create a boundary dispute committee that will deal with issues of boundary dispute according to the plan already made by the government in collaboration with the existing sites like moat, valleys, and traditional trees, which become the mark that we look for when government is mapping out the communities and their lands for survey. Okay, this is very important. All this should be done. If we want development, we want peace in our state, we must do the needful. Otherwise, the youth will continuously creating unnecessary havoc. Just like what they are doing right now in our state. Excuse me, guys. Number 5. No community should be allowed to superimpose their strength on other communities, both via brutal force or whatsoever ways. This can only happen when every community will get a title of deed. It is very, very important. A title of deed from the ministry, which they will be asked to pay for according to the numbers of land mapped out from their community. It's easy. This is your portion. This is where your boundary is. Community A, this is your title of deed. You have 5,800 plots of land. Community B is your title of deed. You have 4,200 plots of land. And so on and so forth. Because then government would have created their own lands for market, schools, hospitals, police station, other government, parastatals that they think they can put in that community in the near future. Do you know why you see today government land being sold? Because there's no proper planning. Many of my friends bought government land. They build on government lands. Because there's no proper planning. But when the proper thing is not being done, it reduces the risk of government not taking people to court. Or of people not saying, no, you can't destroy my property now. And many of these unnecessary setback that will be created as a result of no proper management. Okay. Number 6. Government lands should also be mapped out by each community according to the government plan for that community. And such lands can never be sold if clearance is needed before lands are being paid for. Like I just said now, to become impossible. If, for example, I want to buy land in a community and they decide to sell me government land, and they know I will go to the office of the government to check if actually the land belongs to the government. And why God then said no, the land belongs to the government, I'm not going to pay. But many community leaders sell government lands to you. They tell you to go and get a CFO. Government will say, no, that land belongs to us. And if you stay there, you are staying there at your own risk. It might take 10, 15, 20 years or 30 years before a governor that is ready to work will come, and your land or your houses can be demolished. But if there is not a plan, like I just said now, it will reduce excessively the sales of government land by this youth, which will now also reduce the loss of property by developers. Number 7, the developers must be asked to pay the development fee to the niggas, not to the youth right now. And a niggas and a John way directly. The government, the developers must be asked to pay the development fee to the niggas and the John way directly, with a receipt from the government, which will be handed over to them by the government, which they will in turn take along when they are planning to register their land, survey, and CFOs. So when you buy a land from a community and you go to the Ministry of Land and Survey to do verifications on that land, and it was now approved for you that land actually is free, you can buy. The government is already aware that the land in that very particular land in that community is about to be sold. So the government knows that a receipt is going to be issued to you, the developer, who will, as a result, return back to the state now to not do your land survey from the entire land survey created by the state government. And in this regard, every development fee paid by the developer, 20% of the money should go to the state government. I repeat, 20% of the money being paid by the developer should go to the state government. And 20% of the money used in selling lands in these communities should go to the state government. 20% of the developmental fee to the state government, and 20% of the cost of the land sold should also go to the state government. The reason is this: you are creating a new community. You are creating a new developmental areas. You are giving the government more job to do. But some few individuals are actually pocketing the entire money, that the proceeds that came from the sales of those lands and other fees that was being paid by the developers. And people want to blame the government for not being able to fix their roads. People want to blame the government for not being able to build schools in their communities. Whereas a community that has over 7,000 or 8,000 plots of land at the cost of 3 million naira per plot, that is running into billions of naira, was pocketed by very few individuals in the community at the detriment of the state, the local government, and the community itself. Many roads to this community is not motorable at all. They used the land, they took the money, they ate the money, build big houses, buy big cars, do a lot of things, but refuse developing the community where these proceeds are coming from. 10% of the developmental fees and 10% of the cost of each land sold should go to the local government in that community. Then and then we can be able to hold the local government accountable when our roads are not being graded or being tied. We can be able to hold the government, the state government accountable when certain basic amenities like schools, healthcare centers, hospitals, police stations are not being planted or built in those communities. But when land are being sold, and one man who is the chairman of the CDAs, now in collaboration with the Ojoworis and the Eniges, share the money among themselves and leave the road no motorable, and leave the entire city destructive, expecting the government to do the needful by creating or formulating finances for them to be able to take care of the rapid development of these communities without the help of the people who sold the lands. Most of you know Ebuku community, for example, Tuamaba, that Ebuku Amaba road. It's one of the longest roads in that axis. It went as far as Tuaba River. You can bust it out Asaple Road on the other side. But it's one of the worst roads in that Benin metropolis as of today. All the lands were sold, but the road was left. Many people today who houses are on that road have run away because of the erosion and the dilapidated state of that road. The same was with Amamba, Ubo Road, until Obaseki came to their aids. The same was with Ohun in the local government. Obanyato, and many other communities that are not developed today. Some few men became billionaires by being CDA chairman, by being an Ojonwere. There is a community that they were fighting over who's going to be the next Enoge. You're ahead of it. It was on news where one of the Enoge came out and chased everybody away with guns from the community. You know why young boys today fight to become the Enoge? Because of the land. It's just because of the land. So many of these community leaders, then the 70% left. 70% left of them. The government should also make sure that 20% of that 70% left to be used in building certain infrastructures like community town hall. Things that they can also use in developing their community. Then 50% cannot be what they cannot share among themselves. This is how development comes to play. You can't put everything on the head of the government based on the mega internally generated revenue and the allocation for the federal government. For the state like Edo State to be able to do all that you guys want, where some few individuals are getting richer and richer by the day, where actually the land belongs to the government and the Oba of Benin, not to any community. By law, no community owns a land. So that is why anybody that wants to be an Ojonwere in any community is approved by the palace. Anybody that wants to be an Enoge in Benin City, in Benin Kingdom, is approved by the palace. That shows every Enoge, every Ojonwere is a representative of the palace. It is called dukedom. They are dukes. They are not kingdoms. The kingdoms supersede the dukedoms, while the kings supersede the dukes. The Ojonweres are more like village heads in a community. If we can be able to do some of these recommendations, and then we'll not only be at peace, but the new community that will be coming up will be developing rapidly based on what is happening. And that will also reduce the interest of the youth in killing themselves over the ownership of land and the sense of land. When they know they can no more sell land, without government approval. Nobody want to die anymore. If I want to go to, let's say I want to go to a community and go and force them to take their land and sell. And when the buyer now goes to the Ministry of Land and Survey, they're not asking, which community are you buying from? Let's say I'm buying from Obelaka community. I said, no. On the map here, this land is to Obejo. So we can't approve it. Go to Obejo community, look at your Ojonwere or the Enoge, and tell them you want to buy land. They own that land, not Obelaka. This can reduce tension in the state. It costs nothing because we already have people in the ministry that are not doing anything. The government should keep them working. Actually, the communities will pay for it so that the developers will not pay in return to the communities. Okay. Number 7. Number 8. Yeah, number 7. Yeah, that number I said that. Yeah. So the developer must be asked to pay the development fee to the Nigeria and Ojonweres directly with the receipt from the government, which will be handed over to them, which they will in turn take along when they are planning to register their land survey as CFOs. 20% of whatever agreed upon as development fee by the government and the community, depending on the property and the size of the land, will go to the local government and the state government for development of that community. So this will also be a fixed price for lands in every community. Yes. Depending on the side. If you're on the expressway, the price is 10 million. It's 10 million. If you are, that's how people, that's how society develops. So when I buy the land, maybe I'm buying the land at Ugbo right now. I know that Ugbo Mamba Road is going to be 50 million. So somebody tell me, oh, sir, there's a land at Ugbo. I said, where in Ugbo? Said, along the road. Is it Ugbo Mamba? I say, yes. Okay, I know it's 50 million. Maybe the inner street will be 30 million. The deeper one will be 10 million. That is how they should put it. The government should be able to understand what is the cost of properties in this area at this time, and they should peg a price, plus or minus. Also, in the developmental fee that they'll be paying also depends on the size of the land and on the building you are building in. Maybe you are doing a 2-flat. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying now. If you put it like this, they have no choice. They will be accountable. They have no choice. They will be accountable. When the ministry need to get approval before you can sell land, there will be proper accountability, sir. They have no choice. They have no choice. It is because of the lapses in the government taking the rightful decisions or taking the right step. That is why some of these communities are like the way they are, bros. Okay. And then I say number 8, which is the last. Every new developing communities land should be sold according to the government plan and pattern for them, which will be on the Ministry of Land and Survey website. Every ministry. If you go to abroad, for example now, there are places they build skyscrapers. You're going to see on that side only skyscrapers. No other house there. No other house. Do you know why we have this rainstorm mostly in Edo State or in Nigeria? It is because we build different houses, different sizes of houses in some places. If it's going to be upstairs on that road, you're going to be upstairs. If you are buying a land there, you are being told the only house you can build there is an upstairs. Nothing more, nothing less. If you are buying a land in some other place, the only land you can build, the house you can build there is a downstairs. If these are being created, it will actually bring beauty to the state. It will create a very well structured and articulate community. These are just my few suggestions and recommendations. Thank you, guys. Any question or contribution? Any question or contribution, please just call in. Hello. Yeah. Okay. Hello. I'm on show now. Can I call you? Can you call me back in the next 10 minutes? Okay, no problem then. Okay, no problem. Okay. Okay, no problem. Depend on you guys. Yeah, please, you can just call in, please, and let's get some contributions. Or you can drop your comment on the comment section, and I will read it out if the case may be. If no suggestions, no contributions, then we call it a day for today. Thank you, guys. I appreciate you guys for another day again. Please share this video. Let it get to the government. Let it get to every community leaders. This is the only way we can make and have a better, a more robust state. Thank you, guys. Have a nice day, and then we'll see tomorrow.